What up, sales savages? Had to get up at 5 o'clock this morning. We got some meetings in LA. Well, actually, we don't have any meetings. There's 2 conferences that will go unnamed because I didn't get press passes. So yeah, we're going down to LA and we're gonna do some conference crashing. Hey, what are you doing at this fancy hotel?
Hey, I'm actually here for a conference called Beat Retreat.
That's awesome. Would you be down to do an interview?
Sure.
Awesome. What's the conference all about?
So Beat is specializing in advertising, specifically to TV. So I'm here talking about the evolution of linear TV into more CTV, programmatic, biddable strategies.
And what's your position?
Yeah, I work at a company called OpenX, and I'm the Global Chief Revenue Officer.
Okay, awesome. What's the main thing that you think people are here to solve? What's the biggest problem facing the CTV space right now?
Yeah, I think there's a couple that are like the short-term solves, and then there's stuff that I think, this is my 3rd year coming to Beat Retreat, that it's a similar piece of content every year, and that's around measurement in CTV and how ultimately CTV can be driving results that maybe linear TV couldn't. But I think that poses a big problem where measurement is really challenging in CTV.
Is the measurement piece just trying to move from the legacy models of like Comscore and Nielsen and into new things like video amp and currencies and stuff like that?
Yeah, it's a little bit of all of it. I think there's still a general idea with a lot of agencies that they should be shifting linear dollars with similar strategies that they would have done within the linear space. And I think the evolution right now is, what are the other use cases for CTV? And how should you be using CTV for potentially like lower funnel tactics as well? So I think until we all can kind of collectively come together to say, what does measurement look like in CTV? That's it's challenging, is there's not like a general consensus on what CTV can be. I was at an event pretty recently, and the IAB Tech Lab was there and talking about the fact that like if we all could just come together in a room and define what measurement looks like in CTV, which
get all the warring factions together.
Yeah,
and,
they've been asking for it for a while. It was actually a pretty funny comment he made where he raised his hand and was like, "Hey guys, like if we could just talk about this for real, we could probably solve this a lot easier than if we all keep getting on stage and having conversations without ever coming to a conclusion." But I think on the other side, that's the long term. Like we've been talking about that for years. I would say the more short-term things that are more actively being worked on and there's more consensus around is transparency within CTV. I think it's challenging to buy CTV right now for the average agency without doing like the new front upfronts, because there's a lack of trust and transparency in more biddable strategies. I think you see a lot of things like fireplace apps show up. You find a lot of mobile,
and
OTT,
that's like fast channels that are kind of like gaming the system.
For me, I think a lot of what I'm here to talk about is if you can provide trust and transparency into what you're buying in CTV, there's actually different tactics that you can utilize CTV for, whether it be audience-based buying, curation within CTV. But I think it takes the industry moving forward around really categorizing what true CTV is and providing transparency even into things like content signals and genre targeting.
Yeah. Is the premium side still partly programmatic, or would you say that that's all like direct insertion or upfronts? Like if you think about like the Amazons, the Disney Pluses, the Netflix, the Hulus, are they 100% subscribed, or are they still filling a decent amount of inventory programmatically?
I think ultimately, even when things are running through like the new fronts, it's still programmatic, right? Doesn't necessarily mean it's biddable, but they're still buying it through typically a DSP and SSP.
They're just committing upfront to a certain spend, is that?
Yeah, but I would say I've seen a transition from most of CTV being transacted that way to an openness to buy outside of the typical like new front upfront styles and looking at more biddable strategies.
Nice.
Which has been interesting to see. I've been in the space for a while. I was at a company called Samba TV in the very early days of CTV and audience buying within ACR tech, and the conversations haven't evolved that much, but I have noticed a big shift over the last year, and I think some of it is all the like press coverage around curation, but it is opening up a lot more possibilities around what biddable strategies could look like in CTV.
That's cool.
And for us, I think it benefits the publishers because it's driving unique demand. It's not cannibalizing them money from their new upfront buys. It's actually allowing buyers to have new strategies and put CTV on plans that maybe they otherwise wouldn't have. So it truly is driving incremental demand to publishers, which is a main goal for us.
What would you say is the main differentiator that OpenX brings to the table?
Yeah, specific to CTV.
Yeah, or why you're here. And
yeah. So I think there's a couple. I think what we've really done is we've cleaned up our exchange. So actually it was a year ago at the retreat
nice.
that we launched what was called TV by OpenX. And what that is it was a big initiative for us to ultimately clean up our exchange in a way that I don't think any other SSP has really done to date. So we eliminated any indirect supply that would be coming through to OpenX's exchange. We recategorized anything that wasn't truly glass on wall. So that's, the OTT.
So they kind of, so if it's not a connected TV, it's basically not considered CTV. It's considered some other type of video inventory.
We didn't eliminate it from the exchange, but we did was recategorize it. So something that isn't showing up on glass on screen just shouldn't be.
That's a different
the same
CPM.
Yeah. And ultimately, it's a different strategy, right? Like people are building strategies around that big screen on a hanging on
with
the
like
wall.
QR codes and stuff like that.
Yeah, or just in unique formats.
Or second screen viewing.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you're utilizing Samba data to target on CTV, you probably don't ultimately want that to be showing up on your multiple devices. Different strategy. And then we also eliminated what we consider non-premium, and that would be like the fireplace apps of the world. So things that are truly glass on wall, but probably not the right experience for the brand or for the consumer itself. So we went through that and launched that at Beat last year. And what we've seen is a massive influx of spend coming through biddable strategies. So the ability to layer on audiences to do true curation within CTV. And again, like I said before, we've seen a big monetization increase from publishers because again, we're not taking dollars from those new front buys. We're actually driving incremental spend to CTV.
That's awesome.
So for me, that is probably one of our biggest differentiators in market is that we really did the work to clean up our supply to be a trusted source for biddable strategies in CTV.
I love that. So do you think TV now with measurement and some of the things like we were talking about, like QR codes, I've been seeing some Amazon ads where literally there's like a drop down to shop feature.
Yeah.
Do you feel like TV is now becoming full funnel? Like you've got brand, you've got mid funnel, and you've got lower funnel performance opportunities?
I think that's the goal. Do I think we're there? No. I think there's a couple things. I don't think all publishers are ready for those types of formats.
Yeah.
I find that there's a lot of really interesting companies out there like Origin or Curve that are doing interesting things in like unique formats within CTV. What I hear pretty regularly is that it's often hard to scale out because there's not quite the amount of like available supply that allow for those types of formats. So again, it's another big reason why we're working on those biddable strategies, because if you can consolidate a bunch of supply together, that is again clean, trusted, and something that ultimately a buyer would want to surround or put their ads in front of, you can actually scale out some of those unique formats as well. So I think there's some changes in the industry around how do you buy CTV that'll allow for some of that more like unique format, mid-lower funnel tactics to work.
That's cool.
But I think it starts with exactly what we did with TV by OpenX, which is clean up the supply, provide a trusted source for audience targeting, because I do believe that if you layer on audiences, whether it be your own first-party audiences, or in many situations like purchase data, ACR tech, all of those different unique things, that does allow you to have a much more mid-lower funnel strategy with CTV. But again, you have the trusted supply that you can actually be running.
Yeah, and the measurement's still hard, right? Unless you're doing QR code or some kind of like drop-down shop, it's, you're having to figure out a second screen. Like if I'm watching something and I look at my phone and I'm like, oh, I want that thing.
Yeah.
Is CTV getting the credit for that, or is something else?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there's some interesting like incrementality testing that's been happening for a while. I think that there's some interesting work that ACR Tech has provided. But I would say the way that I'm looking at it right now is we're getting closer to it. But I would say the big strategy that we hear a lot about that actually does allow for measurement is incremental reach against your linear TV buy. So if you're spending X amount in linear TV, how do you reach an audience that you aren't able to get through your typical linear
Because
buy?
households just don't have there's a percentage of households now that just don't have it.
Yeah, I mean, cord cutters, I think, what is it, like cord nevers, like there's a lot of different terms.
Do you know what the breakdown is currently, like of households that have TVs or that are 100% cord cut or cord never?
I don't. I think that there's like a weird balance right now with people who, like for me, I would consider myself a cord cutter, but I probably pay more in subscriptions than I ever did in like when I actually had
I know, it's such a scam of like the promise, and we have like less option. Well, I guess with connected TVs, you have the limitless options of all the free channels.
The amount of times that I've signed up for a free 7 days to watch Yellowstone or something.
Yeah, well, if they get you behind the paywall with one must-see TV, then chances are, unless you're really penny pinching, you're going to stick with it just because it's annoying. And I do most of mine through Apple TV, so it's all in one ecosystem, even though it's like multiple subscriptions.
Yeah,
so.
I need to copy you because right now
it's hard to keep track of if it's all over the place. Yeah, that's awesome. All right, I have a good one for you. Who's your favorite media agency?
Oh, man. Well, I'll have to say, I think they're all unique.
Good answer.
But, I will also comment that I came from Spark.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah.
So I do have a soft spot for,
I love it.
For the leadership over at Spark.
Very cool.
And Google Assistant.
Awesome, man. Well, hey, thanks so much for coming on the show, and have an amazing week at Beat Retreat.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, buddy.
Good to meet you.
Cheers.
Yeah.